So today's CPI report officially came out, which showed higher than expected inflation. Now, I've shared my input on the CPI report in the past through my social media feed, and I have mentioned to many of my followers that in a rate cutting environment, the CPI inflation report early on is something that is less meaningful. The reason for that is because the more important thing comes down to the overall jobs report, which has a higher impact on the market. Since the Feds balance the situation between employment and inflation, when they lower rates, the importance it falls on the employment side of things. That's why looking at the jobs report is very important. And in today's session, I'm going to go over how the CPI impacted the market, what our levels were, and also give you a little bit of discussion and detail about where the market I see going forward here. Let's talk about it inside the detail here and in today's trading session. So first things first, as always, we always provide our reports to highlight to our members where we see the market going. So in today's trading session, what we pretty much discussed is that the market was trading in this range, and that there is a very strong support between 54.40 and 57.50. Okay, that's the ideal to buy calls when the CPI gets announced. So this CPI report was provided before the CPI came out. It says the ranges are very large, but the majority of the gamma probabilities are in the 57.70 and 58.10 range here, and the bullish gamma is 5800. So if we had seen that 5800 happen today, you probably would have seen a rip towards the 5810. Now the put gamma here, so I said if we get under 5760, that's when you're going to see some bearish strength, and pretty much my prediction is I see that we're going to see a dip and a recovery later on. So we were pretty much spot on about that prediction, because that's exactly what happens. Text open lower, and CPI will make it look bearish, but good buying opportunity on the dip. Okay, so that's what we noticed in today's report, and how do we play off that? So the key news was that the AMD event, and Apple got a downgrade. So besides that, we also provide our levels, which you can see is also timestamped. Our level 1 bullish was over here, but our level 1 bearish, this was an ideal time to buy calls if you like them. Okay, so based on that, you can see exactly in today's trading session that you've seen the first dip happen at the 57.68, followed by an immense pop, drop, and this is our neutral range here. So this is where it tends to be very choppy, no inflection points, no nothing, and we hit it again at this point over here. It popped real fast, and then you're just seeing some choppiness in the end. Okay, so the CPI report came in hotter than expected, but as I mentioned in the beginning, the report has less meaningful impact because of how the reliance in a starting off phase of a rate cut environment is that it's more important about the jobs reports, which happened last week, compared to the CPI report. Now, the trades that we had, so let's go over the trades. So we had a very successful day once again here, and I'll show you the details that we had. Okay, so based off yesterday, we actually swung our SPX 5750 puts, which didn't do so well. It actually was up 50%, but the overall detail was that they put premiums were very expensive. So we took a 50% loss on that because we realized it wouldn't work. But that was a right thing to do because the premiums were pretty much getting sucked dry the entire time. We had started off our day by taking META puts at 580. Okay, the reason why we decided to take the META 580 puts is because first of all, the premiums were definitely showing signs of bearish movement, and we wanted to do this as a quick play. So we did put an order to actually buy that. This was pre-announced. So this was pre-announced in the morning. So we pre-announced this at 1.5, and we eventually got that fill, as you guys can see. And we later bought calls as well. So knowing that META was the weakness in the market and we were bullish on the overall market, it's kind of funny to see here, but those trades both ended working out. So we decided to sell a 57.50 put that we had yesterday, and as you guys can see at this time, the puts were down. We got the calls, and META puts were starting to move at that specific point. We sold the META puts at around 42%. They actually went to 60 to 80%, but we weren't planning to hold this trade for very long because it was more of a scalp. We want to buy ARM calls. We got these MSTR calls. We actually gave this live on free, and they actually went to 60%. So we also had crowd calls as well. So the crowd calls, and we can see bot crowd at 1.75 right over here. I didn't mention it in the chat earlier, but sorry, I forgot to post it here, but we got this at 11:37, and we sold it 40 minutes after here. So this was a nice play, and this went a little bit higher, but it was a perfect sell at the time. So you guys can see the MSTR was definitely moving there. So that was a perfect setup trade. Another thing that we did here is, sorry, that was from yesterday. Okay, so we got the crowd, and we sold our SPX calls as well. Those SPX calls actually went to the high point, but I decided to sell it very early on because around this point, so they did go to around $5-6, but I decided to sell early because I knew that there would be a little bit of resistance here, and that was the right call to do, even though it went up, an extra 2 points or so. So we noticed that the AMD event was bearish. Okay, the reason for this is because the CEO of AMD announced that their new chip was actually more faster than NVIDIA's last gen chip. So that to me is bearish, that they're behind the curve. So we decided to short this. It did initially see a strong dip. Like we got this around 12.52. So 12.52 was right over here. So it pretty much already had a fast dive at that point. We got in around here, and we sold it right at our level 1 bearish right over here. Okay, so if you look at our model number, we knew exactly where AMD was gonna land. So if you guys watch our last videos where we gave the full prediction, this support was spot on. You can see that there's a wick bouncing right over here. So we took that quick 160 put and sold it right over here, and that's where the bounce later happened. So that was a nice sell. Now let's talk about Tesla. So Tesla has an AI event that is happening tonight. Okay, and the thing about this event here is a lot of people are not so optimistic about this event, and it's an underdog event. So when there's an underdog event happening, I actually do get very excited because going against the trend is key. So anything can happen during this event. The expectations are actually lower than expected. For the AMD, the hype was real, but you see here that Tesla all week was trending lower. If you look at the call premiums, they were ranging at $2 the entire time. So if you guys were to look at the Tesla premiums, let's take a look into that and see what we mean. So right over here, you can see the Tesla. This is a Tesla 260 chart premium over here. Okay, so if we zoom this out from a longer time frame, you can see that it's been ranging from 2 to around from 2 right over here for like the last 2 days. Okay, so it's been in that range, and it's pretty much been cascading lower here, and that's what got me really intrigued here, that the premiums look good. But what we did instead is that we decided to add a week. Okay, and the reason for that is that the 260s are well overpriced. I can see that. Like, I mean, it costs $2 for 10% upside move. So what we did is we bought next week's 260 calls, so we won't be deterred by the time decay, because if Tesla doesn't go above 10%, then your 260 calls are going to get slaughtered. If you see Tesla moving 5%, then you will lose money because it's Friday. You need to have Tesla really go higher, and this is our chop range. So part of my model also tells us that in the chop range, it's going to be, of course, choppy, and it's going to decay your premiums. So what we did is that we added a week, so that way if Tesla does move up 5%, we can have a nice solid 50% gain on our play and not worry so much about the daily expiration since it's on a Friday. So that is really beneficial to know by adding more time, and that's one of the key strategies that we talk about in the StockX mentorship program. So why do we say Tesla is bullish into the event? Because it's pretty much a lotto. Anything can happen. Yes, we are aware of that. This is what I call a C plus trade, which is purely based off an event. The outcome of your success is how the event goes. So the reason why I decided to get calls is because I noticed that Tesla had hit our level 1 bearish inflection point right over here. Now, it was off by a couple of points. That's totally fine. But you can see here that major buyers picked it up and they moved it all over here. Okay, level 1 bearish in my model basically is a gatekeeping level. This is what keeps a market in the market or the stock in check. So if it had hit, let's just say 229, this here confirms the trend. Okay, that means I would have probably waited for a pop and then shorted it into the event if we had seen that 229. So my projection is that I believe Tesla can go higher, but the model doesn't predict the news. Okay, the news could be anything, but I believe that the premiums are optimistic towards the upside. So that's why we decided to take the calls and we added a week into that. So I hope you guys learned this, and we'll definitely follow up with this trade and see how it works later on. Okay, we ended up the day off by chasing a 5750 lotto, and that ended up going to zero. Okay, so you know, we were looking at between 50 cents at 1.5. I actually thought that near the end of the day there was a chance that we may break our level 1 bearish, and that's why I decided to get it. But it was a wrong thing to do, because the reality is that when we were looking at the SPX chart over here, they major support was at 57.55 at the time. But when I saw that, I later realized, hey, okay, this trade wasn't going to work out. But you know, we size small and we always continue to play with profits. So that's a little bit about the day, and that's a little bit about what's happening. Not only do we got the CPI out of the way, but we also have the PPI report that is happening tomorrow. That will most likely be less impactful, but overall, what you pretty much want to be aware of is the Tesla event is happening tonight. The bullish case is that if they announce like short-term deadlines on when things going to be like fixed, like let's just say FSD is ready to go, let's just say the semi trucks are ready to go, if they even announce a cheaper version of Model 2 that some people are spectating that's going to come out next year, it's a total game changer. You're going to see Tesla run 10%. And based on my model here as well, I believe that Tesla has a 10% upside move and a 7% downside move right over here. Okay, so that's what we see, what's going on. We hope you guys enjoyed this little commentary, understanding a little bit about premiums and the story behind every trade, because we want to make sure that you guys are getting better with your trading journey, understand the theory behind how the model works, because at the end of the day, we've shown it many times, and we've shown strategies that can help traders become successful. Check out our link below to join the mentorship program, so that way we can discuss one-on-one on how to make your trading journey better. We talk about this, and I also spend a lot of time during coaching sessions with my members in the room, because having that personalized mentor that is there to give you the trades and the theory behind it, and also showcase how to read premiums, is a huge game changer that no one else offers. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one, and like always, let's get that money.